90% of other Hearthstone decks, I think.
Yeah. Okay, next up we've
I don't
got
know.
a legend card, a late game legends neutral card. It's actually Medivh, the Guardian. The first time we'll have, I think it's the first time we'll have a skin and we'll have an actual card that's the same character. But it's an 8-drop 7/7 body battle cry equipped. Uh, is it a T? How do you pronounce that? Noxious.
A TS, I guess. I
Atiesh,
mean,
Atiesh.
we
Okay, this is not.
TS for like
I'm
a
familiar
long
with the
time
world,
ago, but
yeah, World of Warcraft. But a great staff of the Guardian, and the staff is a 3-drop. It's a 1 damage, 3 durability. If you cast a spell, summon a random minion of that cost, and then lose 1 durability for each one of those spells. I figured it'd be interesting to talk about this card, just given that this is the first time that we introduced a neutral weapon. It's not really. I mean, it is a weapon you can swing too. So it's the first time that all classes will be able to use this. But at the same time, it is a late game option too. And whether this is a good card or not, I guess is the question. So, Firebat, you want to give your thoughts first?
Sure. I think a lot of people have been saying it's like way too slow, which may end up being the case. But I think there's still a lot of opportunity here, just because against a lot of the faster decks, its effect combos very well with big AoE spells like your
Oh
flame
my
strikes
god.
and what have you, for
Yeah.
example, or even just freezes and stuff like that. So I think the card's really interesting. I think it's going to maybe create some new decks that can kind of revolve around the summoning stone like effect of the weapon, and I think it's a lot better than the other 8 mana 7/7 legendary, like the mage one that gives like 3 arcane missiles. That one can be kind of
yes.
slow because the effect is actually pretty underwhelming. And even though this is an 8-drop without an immediate effect, I think it could see some sort of place in some control decks. And I don't really like it in aggressive decks just because Ragnaros is just such a better top end. But I could definitely see it in decks that you can stabilize with enough time to actually get this down and play it. So your decks that have like high health or high ability to control the board, then you play this and you're able to then just recover the tempo loss of playing an 8 mana 7/7 with the ability on the weapon. I don't think the card's going to be great, but I think there may be some pockets where it's able to do something cool.
Ray, what do you think?
I've actually the beginning of this month, before they announced like the release date for the expansion and everything, I wanted to play like a few days of Priest only, and one of the decks I was trying was Summoning Portal, and it was unplayable because they can attack Summoning Portal even if you double its health. But this card actually seems like really. I mean, after having played that deck, I think this card is like pretty good in Priest, and I think it's pretty good in Mage, and it might just be like pretty good in general. It's a really weird finisher, but it's not a bad one, if that makes sense. Like, spells are exactly what you want to be playing after playing a mana 7/7, and if you're not going to die on the counter swing, this card's actually like pretty good, and it's good with Ice Block. It's good with just, I don't know, it just seems like strong to me if your deck is looking for another finisher, and it might be too slow, but it's not like Archthief for Fom is a card like I knew would be unplayable, whereas this card
Right.
like actually seems like there's some decks where it's pretty strong. So yeah, I think it's fine. Plus the fact that you can attack with the weapon the first turn is actually not irrelevant. That might matter sometimes, but probably not. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess like the 1 damage. It's not the most meaningful thing, but like I really, really love the effect. The fact that they slapped it onto a weapon, and the fact that it's not like Death Rattle equipped at TH. Like there's actually no way for them to set it up so that you don't get value out of it. Like
Right.
you can usually just find room to play it in just about any class, honestly. Like I've tried to find the corollary that we use right now for late game in most decks, and there's kind of nothing really. Like Arctic for Fom and Ysera are just kind of missing in action overall. So Medivh seems like the only potential legendary that would fit that slot that used to be taken by those cards.
Yeah, I mean, running this, or at least the weapon, it is a little bit later, but it's like having multiple Fireland portals, right? I mean, at least the spells that you're going
Sure.
to be using on it,
Yeah.
they're going to be, like you said, totally swingy, and you're going to get
Well, it
a
could be
big
5 even,
minion on the
dude.
board.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like a 10. It doesn't have
Could
to
be a
be
fireball.
mind control Pyroblast, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it
it
could
has
be a
to be
fireball.
anything. Yeah, anything, dude.
Yeah.
The issue
Call
is
the
just
Wild.
not
Cold
dying.
Wild. Oh my god. be crazy.
Not dying is the really hard part with all of it.
Yeah.
If you could figure out a way to do that, you're gonna have to be playing some like weird control-y deck with a lot of AoE. Which, Reynad's suggestion of Priest seems pretty solid with that. Yeah, maybe this is the finisher Priest needed to become a real deck. Maybe they had a plan with Purify the whole time, and Priest is a real deck.
Yeah, we already gave this. This should have been a priest deck, a priest card, basically.
The reason Purify costs 2 mana is so it can summon bigger minions. The card is actually stronger as
like
with the ATS.
Yeah,
Right,
Doomsayer. Yeah, cool.
That's the reason it's a battle cry, not a death rattle. It's all planned out.
We should have thought of that.
Purify is actually better as 2 mana than 1 mana.
Okay, all right. That's. I guess that's true. Except for when I get Doomsayer, but all right. Let's see. Next up, we've got some more neutral cards here that are worth.
You can purify the Doomsayer, Chris.
Oh,
it's all planned.
Okay.
And then you make it, yeah. Then you inner fire it for the validated value.
Nice. All right, Barnes. It's 4-drop, 3/4 battle cry. Summon a 1/1 copy of a random minion into your deck. So lots of theory crafting with this card went on after they announced it about just what kinds of decks. Wanted to see what kinds of decks you guys think would be the most likely candidates for this. Noxious?
Honestly, just everything. I don't know. It's just one of those cards that I don't see like a deck in which it's just horrible. I mean, there's got to be some in which it's just bad. But when I look at the value you get out of it, I mean, no matter what you get, it's a 4/5 in stats, split around like among 2 bodies, and the decks that can actually abuse the effect, like there's not going to be that many decks that I think just like in a typical tempo-ish oriented deck they can't really abuse the 1/1. But decks that are just built around it, like N'Zoth Paladin, for instance, if it's not built around it, but they find good targets with it, I think those decks get a lot better actually.
Yeah, it's really a matter of just the value you get from that 1/1 and how you can manipulate that by the deck you build.
Yeah, it depends what it is. I mean, I love it with Cloaked Huntress. Honestly, that's my biggest, I guess, card boner.
Crazy,
is
man.
the hyper secret heavy, lock and load.
Mm-hmm. Firebat, what do you think?
I think it's a pretty cool card. I can definitely see it in like the most obvious thing, right? Where I think it's going to see the most play is going to be N'Zoth decks, because any death rattle that you get is good, adds value to your N'Zoth. I mean, adds value to the board a lot of the times. Death rattles just simply work very well with it. I can also see it getting a lot of value in combo decks, being able to pull, your Prophet Valen or Malagos or whatever out immediately. And as well as, pulling your Emperor Thorson or your Loot Hoarders or whatever out in the combo decks. Since it pulls a copy of the minion out, if you can get an Emperor proc off of that copy, then you can find your regular Emperor faster. Because one of the big problems with combo decks is you run a bunch of 2-mana draw card, like cantrip cycle things, which is why you need to stall for so much time, because the bodies on all of those minions are fairly irrelevant. So if you're able to get free extra Emperor procs and cycle more efficiently and all the yada yada, then it's just really strong and just jamming it in random combo decks. So I see a lot of potential in there with that card and anything that has Death Rattle.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Ray? Surely you've come up with some awesome deck for this guy.
Yeah, I don't like that they made this card. I think this is, again, kind of a brute force way to make their expansion have constructed impact, but this is going to make me enjoy playing the game significantly less. Because when this card gets played turn 4, which it will, and at least 50% of decks will run this because it's fucking stupid and the card is not being talked about enough. When it's played and you randomly hit Emperor or Cairn or Rag or something dumb, the game just ends. You can't, if you get Cairn Bloodhoof off this or Tyrion or whatever, you can't recover from that. You can't account for a turn 4 8/9. There are cool things you can do with this card that I intend to do. For example, I'll play it in my Huntress deck because it pulls Huntress, so it's a 3rd copy and it lets you go off. It gets you Emperor Thorson for your lock and load and stuff, which is cute. But that's why this card is the reason I was thinking of playing Yasharaj in that deck. So I have another cheese, right? Because you play it turn 4 and you get Yasharaj, you get 15 stats. So it's there's ways that this can be a thing. It's just by that I mean, okay, the card is nuts. It's really good.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that every game there's just like 50% of decks or whatever will run this thing, and then they'll just like play it turn 4, and then you have from there like a 33% chance to lose on the spot on turn
Right.
4. It's like a 4-mana swingy or knife juggler, which I don't know. I would prefer the game waits to like turn 6 for this kind of crap to happen, but
Yeah. It's one of those cards. It's never bad. It will never be bad in whatever deck it's run in. Okay, next up we've got Moat Lurker. So I chose this one, and I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a good card or not, but I did like the text on this one. So I kind of want to get your opinions on it. So it's a 6-drop, 3/3 card. Battlecry, destroy a minion, but Death Rattle, resummon it. So this is, it's kind of like it sets up a little bit of a puzzle every time, like they're trying to play this and figuring out when the right situation is to do it and on what, right? Because it has a little bit of reincarnate in it, and but you can do it with your opponent's cards. So yeah, what's your thoughts on this? Noxious, this seems right up your alley, actually. What do you think of this card?
I mean, a year and so ago, like I designed that card for an adventure mode that I was having fun with.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So the idea behind the card, I mean, I pushed it a bit more because like the entire adventure mode was like the game was very mild back then, and the card wouldn't have been as insane. It was like in the GVG Nax era, so you kind of need like extreme answers. Nowadays, though, the card I made was like a 5/3 beast. The idea behind the card is really cool. The only problem I see is like how consistently most decks will pull it off. It's like I treat it as a Black Knight in most cases. Worst case scenario, it stalls 1 turn. So to buy time, it's great. Like depending on the decks you're facing off against. The only issue is like if the norm is for people to drop like a high main or like a stealth minion on 5, then suddenly like what are you targeting with this crap? Like ever on curve. With a lot of decks, like a lot of things you kill will simply not die. I would have rather it like swallowed the minion without like destroying it and then belched it out or whatever. Like so you basically like keep it. You know what I mean, right? Like whenever like it kind of keeps it for now, and then as soon as it dies off, it spits it back out. Instead of triggering death rattles, which of course you can use it defensively if you want to protect your own stuff for whatever reason.
Yeah, it would have been better that way. Yeah, just
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the whole destruction effect, but I see why they made it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow Step, obviously, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Shadow Step's what everybody's been talking about, right?
Yeah.
Ray, what are your thoughts on this?
It's an interesting neutral effect. It's like one of those things that, because it's in the game, it just gives decks more tools if they really need help. So like, if you're hellbent on playing some sort of archetype, but like, you're hellbent on playing like Ramp Druid or whatever, but everyone's playing these decks with like big stuff that you can't big game hunter. Then now you have access to this like Moat Lurker, and maybe you Moat Lurker, and then you keep your own Moat Lurker and wonder where your stats are. But
where's my evolve?
The point is, like, aside from the combos, it's like, it might just be used as like a utility thing to kill stuff. It's an effect that's super common in Magic. There's so many cards that do this, like all these Oblivion Ring effects, Fiend Hunter, things like that. There's like 40 iterations of that card. But yeah, basically, you play the card, it eats something, and then as soon as your card dies, that thing comes back. So the cool thing about that is in Hearthstone, you can't play stuff on your opponent's turn. So if I Moat Lurker something and then they spend their turn killing it, they can't attack right away. So at the very least, you like froze it for a turn, right? So it's kind of like Frost Elemental, -2/-2 stats, worst case. You can tell this is a card they tested a lot because this is something that's super easy to mess up on. If this had 4/4 stats, it would be like the best card in the expansion. The fact that it has 3/3 might make it unplayable. So it's like really tough to balance these effects because it really is a spell that you're playing, not a minion. The fact that you're tacking it onto a minion is like scary, but yeah, it's playable in something at the very least as a utility thing. But just if you compare it to like Frost Elemental worst case, it's like
that seems bad actually when you compare it to that.
Right. But it's probably not good enough. But that's where I'll say with it. Like don't be surprised if it becomes a thing, but probably not good enough.
Okay, yeah, Firebat.
I really don't like the fact that it's only got like 3 health. Like Reynad was saying, it would probably be busted if it had better stats, but I think it's really hard to use it offensively without transforming it, just because 3 health dies to everything, like every removal spell in the game, basically. So I think the best way to utilize this card and where you're going to see the most success out of it is like playing Moat Lurker and then evolving it to get a 7/7 and kill your opponent's minion or something like that. Maybe it's just like a secret buff to the Evolved Shaman archetype or the Shadow Step that everyone's been talking about. Or also you can kind of target your own minions to buff your own N'Zoth. If you have the extra time, I guess, somehow.
Yeah.
But if like you have a Sylvanas stick, you can maybe make a trade with it, then Moat Lurker it, and then kill your Moat Lurker to get your own Sylvanas back, and then re-Sylvanas things. So there's interesting potentials there in N'Zoth and Death Rattle decks that have the ability to set up states where it's going that slow by using things like Equality and all of that sort of stuff. So I think there's interesting possibilities with the card. I don't think it's very strong, and I think it's at its best in Evolved Shaman.
Yeah, okay, that'd be definitely cool to see. 7/7s coming, or whatever 7-mana cards coming from that. Let's see.
I had a question about the card, by the way.
Oh,
Does
sure.
anybody know, like, if you kill Sylvanas and she steals him, do you get Sylv, or does he get her back? Does the card imprint resummon the minion for the opponent, or does the card imprint resummon to the player who held the Sylvanas?
Probably resummons it on the side it died on.
That's
Yeah,
the assumption.
I would imagine so, just because it says just resummon it, so it just like puts everything back to where it was before, basically.
I have a question though. Like, what if you resurrect this with N'Zoth or one of the Resurrect Priest cards, and then it dies? Does it resummon anything or nothing?
Right.
I don't think so. I think the imprint of the minion it takes is only done on Battlecry.
Okay, so if it doesn't Battlecry, it doesn't bring something back. In that case, it's like, yeah, playable. If it's the other way, then it's just like trash. But yeah, the fact that you target your own stuff is a really big deal, actually.
I mean, you re-stealth Stranglethorn, right? You just attack with it, then you eat it up, then this dies, and you get it back up.
Yeah,
Go
delayed,
full
but yeah,
crazy
delayed
mode.
tempo. But yeah, something like
terrible.
that. It's definitely possible. All right, next up, Curator. So this card, again, another one of these early announced cards that has a lot of draw value, and given that it's a 7-drop, 4/6, it's a 4/6 body mech. The Curator, it's a taunted minion, which is kind of nice, but the battle cry is actually draw a beast, a dragon, and a Murloc from your deck. Which, obviously when you read that, everybody's immediate, brain just starts to figure out what kind of deck can they build that has a beast, a dragon, and a Murloc in it. So I guess I'll throw the question to you, Firebat. What do you think is the best implementation of using this card?
Well, without creating new archetypes, I think the best place to just jam it in would be in Dragon Warrior. You take out some of the kind of more clunky top-end cards, and you just throw in, Fierce Monkeys over Frothings. You already got a Dragon in the deck, and you already got a Murloc with Finley, and then you just play on curve, and then you drop this on curve, and you start running out of cards, and then you continue trucking and punching him in the face. Allows you to play around AoE and all sorts of things just because you continually reload your hand. It's like having an Ancient of War in a super aggressive version of Druid. Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen that happen before, but so it was good. Like back when Ancient Allure was a card in an aggressive deck, and the Curator allows you to do that as well with a lot of decks, and it's got a better stat distribution than a 5/5, and it's got taunt. Card's insanely powerful, but not only does it have that aspect to it, you also got the ability to improve combo decks a little bit. You're able to draw a specific beast, a specific dragon, or a specific Murloc from your deck. So if you only run Alexstrasza in your deck, you can pull out Alexstrasza, or if you only run Malagos or what have you, and then you have like a better % chance to have a really good Emperor faster, so you can pull off your combo faster since you're more likely to have combo oriented cards in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can do like Malagos OTK combos more consistently and what have you. So there's some cool applications to it with being able to draw specific cards, and then just the natural being able to draw 2 cards is busted.
Or 3 cards.
Yeah, I mean, all the Murlocs are so bad though. Like, there's not very many.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, just Finley is like the only one I can see, and it allows you to put Finley in a lot more decks that I don't think you would even necessarily really want Finley in that badly. But you can just throw him in there just because if you draw him early game, you drew a 1/3 early game, you're not too upset about it. And then if you don't draw him, then you just cycle him out of your deck with this a lot of the time. So it's not as bad as for you to run Finley as it has traditionally been, which I think is really cool. I'd like to see him get more play. It's probably my favorite card in Hearthstone.
Okay. Noxious, what do you think?
Murloc Knight, and
Murloc
Dragon
Knight.
Paladin. I don't know.
Murloc Knight and Dragon Paladin.
Yeah,
with a
it's pretty
beast,
good.
the Kodos.
Yeah, dude, you need to put in Kodos and like double Direwolf, double Huge Toad,
It's too
and
many beasts. You don't need them.
What?
You
What
only need
is
like
this?
two or
What
three.
kind of deck is
two or
this?
three
I know,
bags.
you
Like,
don't
that's
even want. Like, I'm just saying, like one of the few cards you mentioned, Murloc sucked. Like Murloc Knight is probably the only thing with Finley that comes to mind. But like the new 3-drop for Paladin, it gives you 1/1s, you know,
Yeah.
little whelps. Makes
Yeah.
Dragon Paladin more appealing. Like in that type of deck, can you find room for the dragons? I mean, obviously, the question is whether or not you even want to put in a Murloc there. Like, do you even
Yeah.
want Murloc Knight in there? It could fit. It's all right.
You turn 4 after you play. You know, it's like called Dark Bane or something,
Yeah.
or whatever the new muster for battle. Whenever
Yeah.
you play that, the goal is to play any of your 4-drop buff cards. So I don't know how good Murloc Knight's going to fit in there. You want to King's one of those, take a value trade, and just be ahead 3 minions on board and just dominate people. So
That sounds
I'm not
good.
so sure. Murloc Knight.
No, it's not. And I mean, the thing is, like, it's the only card I could see where you draw more than one, right? Like
Sure.
in my mind, when I see Curator, I mean, I guess the Vilefin Inquisitor could give you like the early game, like you get the Murloc value, dude. You go full Murloc Dragon hybrid, and you just showcase decks at BlizzCon. That's what you do for a living now. Just show janky decks and be like, look at this expansion. It's exciting.
Okay. Okay.
Curator's good though, honestly though. Like as just a card, you draw one card, I think it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I think it's just a decent value, dude, in like Reno decks and stuff. Like it's like a little overhyped. It's good. I mean, it's just not like I don't think it's gonna be like metagame defining. Just a good
think-
value guy.
You think it has to draw 2 cards or 3 cards? What?
Two.
2. Okay.
Yeah, it has to draw 2 to be worth it. If it draws 1, I don't think it's worth it. But
Yeah.
you should be able to quite consistently make it draw 2 in a lot of decks, just with Azure Drake being a card, and just
Your Azure Drake.
pretty decent.
Azure Drake decks a lot of times it's like your Azure Drake's your only card draw. Like are you putting a card you might need to fit in like a Kodo into a deck that doesn't really want a Kodo, and it's not like auto include in everything. I mean, you can get Finley in Dragon Warrior, but like what beast do you want to fit in Dragon Warrior? Like what are
Here's
you putting?
Monkey.
First
Here's
Monkey.
Monkey.
Here's Monkey.
Monkey's good. Here's Monkey's
Monkey's
good.
real
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Mufla Tyrant of the Veil, I guess, in some like
Yeah.
random
Okay.
list if you really.
You
Okay.
can put like Tyrant of the Veil and Yogg Druid, and then
Yeah.
you have Azure Drakes and Yogg Druid. You cut the nourishes and start making that happen. Like
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. You're right. It might be worth making some swaps around.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of beasts that are pretty good that are like underrated. So I think
Mounted
this will make
Yeah,
those
Raptor.
cards start single. You just jam Mounted Raptor in any Druid deck and it's fine. You jam 2 Azure Drakes in there, and a lot less people are going to be playing Nourish with this card being a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Need nourish.
We should see a lot of this. The new Ancient of Lore, pretty much. All right, so next up we've got a couple weapons. Actually, while we're still looking at this card, one thing I did notice when I was kind of going through all these cards is that there's a ton of battle cry, like in this release, and the fact that it has a ton of battle cry. I mean, is it gonna make, I guess, things like Bran and Crowd Favorite played anymore? In your opinion? Any of you
Crowd
guys?
favorite, I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
Bran is just gonna keep doing his thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
Brand's
even
just
more so
good.
than it used to be, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. I didn't actually realize it's like 15 cards or something, or even maybe more that had battle cry. It's crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of decks they seem to be like influencing a lot of dragon synergies. So
Mhm.
those all have battle cries too. If there's any new dragon decks created, so
Yeah. All right. So next up, we got a couple weapons that I want to talk about, and first one is a shaman one, and it's a 1-drop 1/3. It's a 1 attack 3 durability. It has +2 while you have spell damage, and I thought this was kind of cool. Well, the fact that it's just like a 1-drop weapon that's 1/3, but the fact that it's promoting the spell damage, the Zeus-like, that type of archetype, I thought was pretty cool. And I think there's a couple cards that actually, just have the spell damage synergy. So wanted to get your thoughts on what do you think of this weapon? Right now Shaman, probably doesn't need it given it has Trog and stuff, but this type of spell damage Shaman, thoughts on it, Reynad?
It's a really tough card for me to evaluate. My feeling is that there's no deck that's an easy fit for this, but
Mm.
um, yeah, like I mean, if you're not getting the effect on curve, it's like you're playing Spirit Claws turn 6 after Twilight Drake. I don't know. My guess is there's no deck for it now, but 1 mana cards are so powerful and so dangerous that if they print more spell damage stuff, obviously it just gets better and better, and at some point this card will be destroying things in Wild. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could get it off a totem, like an air totem. Actually, can give you that.
yeah,
High roll the 25.
That's right, baby.
The dream, the shaman life, though. I mean, that's
Yeah.
basically pure shaman.
Yeah, exactly.
On 2, you got Blood Mage Thalanos, double Kobold Geomancer. Your odds of going Spirit Claws into 2-drop spell power aren't very good. Fiery Warx is not that great at the later stages of the game, but this card isn't that bad. Sometimes you just Azure Drake Lightning Bolt things, so on like 6, it could be similar to that at some stage, but right now Shaman just has better things to do, right? Like this is a synergy that they're slowly implementing, right? Like what they were doing originally with Beast Druid. So I imagine as future sets come out, there's going to be more spell damage synergies, and this is going to be an important card in those sort of decks. It's really good for those. It's just Shaman's got way like better directions it can go currently that have more synergies for it.
Yeah, I mean, you have like Druid of the Fang with Master of Ceremonies. Those are the equivalents. Right. And then you get Spirit Claws, which is like Wild Walker. And then the next card they print for spell damage is going to be a Stealthed 2-drop Malagos.
Oh, my God.
That is the pattern, yeah.
That might actually be right on. Ray, you're about to say something?
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool that it's 1 mana for 9 damage. So if you have the time and you're kind of a burn-oriented thing, it's actually... That's kind of the plan it goes in. But if you're looking for consistent damage output, like you're probably not going to play 2 of this and 2 Doomhammer. You're not going to have time to do all the charges. So I don't know. It's okay. It's probably one of a deck right now.
Definitely needs a lot more, but I definitely do like the direction of the spell damage. I always thought the Zeus deck was really, really neat, and when it came out just for a short period, right? It was very inventive. The next weapon is Fool's Bane. So Warrior gets another weapon. Oh my God! Like how many weapons do they have? This is a 5-drop, 3 attack, 4 durability. But this is pretty cool. Unlimited attacks though for each turn, but you can't attack the hero. Thank God, you can't attack face. So kind of like it's an indirect removal type of spell in a way, but it's just you're taking damage instead. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Noxious?
Totem removal.
Yeah,
that's basically. I mean, one of the easiest things that, one of the things that Warrior suffers from is just Shaman completely shits all over it by hitting hero power enough times. Eventually, even the mid-range lists. So this is kind of like a non-brawl against that one deck. And it also can be a little bit more flexible, and you get to control a bit where things go. Like even with the Violet Illusionist, I'm not sure if this is something that's pushed enough that people play it. I wish Rogue had something like. I don't know. I wish this wasn't a warrior weapon, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, Deadly Fork is, like, give warriors Deadly Fork. Although it's not, nearly as bad as it's made out to be. I just think Fool's Bane is more rogue-ish than it is warrior-ish.
Okay.
Potential-wise, I can't evaluate it yet.
Yeah. Firebat?
I don't like seeing I don't think this card's gonna be used as a brawl. I think it's like you don't have enough charges really against what minions you typically brawl. It's just like worse than brawl. It's like with brawl you get to clear the board and not take a billion damage. So I think brawl is gonna be where it is, and Fool's Bane is gonna do something completely different. I think it's gonna be more of aggressive of a card, in more like mid-rangey style of decks if it sees play. And on turn 5 you just equip it, kill their 5-drop. And then they play their next guy because you've been keeping up pretty even with them on board till that point. Then you drop your guy and kill their next guy, and all of a sudden you've traded some amount of life and you're up a minion. And it's usually going to be like 10 to 15 life because you have to double hit things. So
Right.
I don't think it's like the best way to regain board, but I think that's where I see it, having the most use and being most effective is those sort of mid-range matchups for trading life for board control. So I don't think it's particularly a great card. I think it's very borderline though, and it could be involved as like a tech slot, or there could be situations where it comes up. I just don't see the immediate potential of it yet.
Right?
Yeah, it's an interesting card. I agree with Firebat. That's the decks that it'll be in is more like mid-range tempo based. You wouldn't want to play this in control or aggro. Um, well, aggro is in like Face Warrior,
Yeah.
but yeah, in Dragon Warrior or something, I do want to test one of it because it's kind of there's never been a card like this where you can just all of a sudden pay 5 mana to just buy the board in exchange for 15 life or whatever.
Mhm.
And a deck that's been aggressive up to that point at all, this is actually this is like pretty good. Like, what other card can actually recover you from a losing position when you're playing that deck? You know, like when you're behind or whatever, or they have 1 minion, you just play Fool's Bane, kill it, and then you have 3 charges. What can they do? Like if you're playing it on curve, your life total is almost irrelevant. Like you can spend 20 points of life to just win the board, and this might just win you the game because of that, because it does something no other card can. So I mean, there's some world where this is ridiculous and actually really strong, but maybe it's just like 200 power and the life loss is too much of a hit to take. But I do think I want to try playing one because I see the potential here in recovering from unrecoverable board states.
I mean, it's interesting because we had like Tentacles for Arms where they tried to push to like a very, very high durability weapon, which was basically infinite at that stage. And now they come out with Fool's Bane, the same mana cost, and you're not like the only thing Tentacles for Arms does better than this is win a Fatigue War, assuming somehow you got there. It's kind of odd the way to design the card. Like I really want to see more. Your hero is immune this turn effects and Rogue, when they're attacking stuff with their weapon. Like I wish Violet Illusionist for like a Rogue 1-drop that let them just not take damage for somehow. And have a weapon like this one. I don't know if Warrior really needed this and even wanted it in the first place. That's the big thing. Is like, did Warrior really want this? I can't see it, but
I think it's cool in Dragon Warrior, but I think one of the big scary parts is you can't really afford dead cards in Dragon Warrior, and there's just a lot of matchups where this is going to do nothing. Like all of the control matchups, it's pretty sketchy, and so that's my big deterrent from saying that it's good, is just because control matchups exist. And Dragon Warrior with this in it isn't going to be great in the control matchups. But in like the mid-range mirrors, you're going to blow people out with this in like a Dragon Warrior mirror or something like that.
Or even against aggro. It's not that like a aggro shaman or zoo.
You're probably dead, but
yeah. Okay, true. But
at
least you might be able to get bored earlier though. Yeah.
Sure. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Purify weapon.
Purify weapon. Yeah. All right. Well, go ahead.
If you could have board control on turn 5 with every single deck, if you could have turn 5 board control every single game, but you have to be at 10 life, is that worth it? I think like a lot of the time the answer is yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of decks.
There's
a lot of decks that literally cannot do damage unless they have board control, and you will beat all of those decks, which is way more a majority of the meta than decks that can do damage from hand. Yeah. Just because Blizzard hates decks that can do damage from hand. There's like basically just Mage that does damage from hand. Druid doesn't even run Druid of the Claw anymore, or Savage Roar a lot of times. They run Soul of the Forest. And like Paladin can't touch you, Priest can't touch you, Shaman will kill you. That's a given.
I was gonna say, you might just increase the proportion of shamans in the meta if you pull like number 1, 7/7 comes out, you reply with Fool's Bane. The name's pretty fitting. It's like one of those. It's just a very scary card to use. Yeah.
I mean, there's no okay. If the 7/7 comes out, and you don't have execute. You already lost.
You already did. No matter what.
It always. It's not going to change that. Just like no other card is going to change that. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
You can choose to take that 21 damage as quickly as possible.
No.
Whenever you do that, instead of waiting 3 turns.
Rampage it and leave the game.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that's going to be it for the cards for now. I figured we would go do some Q&A and call it a show. But before that, I want to give a shout-out to a few iTunes folks that left some 5-star reviews. Wiener, RKM160, to BB Beeb, and Chris Bockin. Thanks for leaving those ratings. And if you guys enjoy the show and listen to the audio versions on iTunes and Android or Google Podcast Music, be sure to leave a rating. That's a good way to help the show and to help us rank up and allow people to find Value Town on those app stores or those podcast stores. All right, so questions. So I didn't actually ask folks to tweet them, but you can tweet them to myself at ChanManV, or we can take some just from the Twitch chat today. Why not? Let's just do that. So go ahead and tweet them. All right, right now while we're waiting, what's your favorite card so far? Like what are you most excited about this expansion? Like, what is the card you're going to play on the very first day if you have all
I
of them?
think the golem, and I'm sad. I don't know. I
The
almost regret
giant,
talking
or
about it because I just wanted the expansion to come out day one. I build that deck I'm talking about. All of a sudden, it's insane, and you climb to like rank 1 legend in 3 hours, and then call it a day.
the rest is history
And
from
then
the
it's and then
Reynad
it's and then
genre.
it's Reynad Warrior. But now I don't know. That's the card I'm excited about. I don't think that'll happen, but maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a good deck. It'd be cool.
All right, Noxious, which one are you looking for?
I mean, the Cloaked Huntress, just because I like lock and load in general, honestly. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like, it's so difficult to make lock and load consistently work in a meta game where you just get hit in the face so quick. Like sometimes it whiffs and you really can't do anything about it. And I like the question is how often the upside occurs, right? Like it's not about like if you can win, because you can win. The issue is like how consistently do you win against all those tempo decks? And I feel like it's going to become even more so about those hunters, zoo, druid. Like I think it's going to be more of that. So how does lock and load fare against that? I don't know, man. Looks tough.
Okay, Firebat.
Cloaked Huntress.
My favorite card's probably Purify. No.
Oh.
Valley the mage card, the valet, the 2/3
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I like
deal
that.
3. I think that card's gonna be really cool. I think that's just gonna redefine the way people play, mage. I think it'll definitely create a new mage archetype. So I'm excited to play around with that and try and make, secrets mage or whatever become a thing.
I mean, you think like Ethereal Arcanist and cards like that.
I don't know about that. I'm on the fence about the 3 mana 4/3 that puts a secret from your hand into play. I don't even think that's going to work. So let alone Arcanist. But
Yeah.
I definitely think there's going to be some sort of build out there that's going to be mid rangey that can make that work and be strong.
Yeah.
And run it in the golem deck. I think I will. It's good with ice block. Ice block just
Yeah,
stays
you were talking
there.
about that earlier. Yeah, I could see that. Happy Little Radish asks, what is the panel's assessment of the power level of Ivory Knight? So yeah, there were a lot of going back and forth. People with differing opinions on Ivory Knight. That's probably one that we should have discussed. Yeah, any thoughts on that Paladin card?
pretty good.
I think it's underwhelming
Okay.
based on so the average heal that you get is 3 among all of the cards, and then if you take the highest mana cost presented every single time off the discover, the average heal you're going to get is going to be 5, so it's not great at healing, and then the chances of finding like a specific card that you want is pretty low, and there's not that many great paladin cards. A lot of the time there's going to be just 3 secrets offered, or at least 2 secrets offered, so you're kind of pigeonholed into the last choice there, and it's pretty underwhelming on stats. I think maybe in anyfin you can kind of make it happen because you get like the third anyfin against control, which is just pretty busted. You already beat control anyway though, and you have the potential to heal for a decent amount off that. There's so many healing choices off of it that the healing kind of stacks a little bit, but I don't think healing is as powerful in the current metagame or the metagame after this set as it's been in the past. Like people compared this to Healbot, and I think even Healbot wouldn't be as good as it was in previous sets currently, just because there's not a lot of slow, sticky death rattle minions. It's more up in your face with the damage, and removing and being reactive is much more required.
Okay. Reynad, did you say it was good when we first introduced it, or I mishear you there?
I think it's playable.
Okay.
I think people will run it in more control-oriented paladin decks, and I think like anyfin is the deck I wanted to play 2 of it in, because you need the like card draw, life gain combination without playing more bad cards. So, I think the problem with anyfin right now, one of the many problems, like in Wild, it's actually one of the best possible decks. So the deck is like strong, but the thing is, without Old Murkai, you actually don't beat control. Like the warrior decks just out armor you, so you don't just get those free wins. Right. This gives you a small chance of getting a third anyfin, which helps. Plus, it just gives you another like mid-rangey dude to start whacking them with, which matters. And it's life gain for matchups like Freeze Mage without. I know this is like all fringe stuff, but it all adds up. It's life gain for matchups like Freeze Mage. It doesn't force you to play stuff like Holy Light. So it's not like just outright good in anything that it does, but it condenses like a lot of needs of that deck into one slot, and that might be enough to have it see play. But most likely, if you're going to play a control-y Paladin deck, you're just going to go into Zoth, and that deck doesn't need more 6-drops. So maybe you squeeze one in. But yeah, point is, it's not amazing, but I do like it in anything.
Okay. Nox, anything to add to it?
No, just really it's gonna be played in probably just the old school like control Paladin. Like if you go back to pre-Nax or something, or even Nax, the Nax era is gonna look a lot more like that than the current list that we have.
Yeah. All right, let's see. What else we got here? Oh, will Handlock or Arena Lock come back? I'm craving Control Warlock from AMF 100. Anybody?
Well, Handlock will never be a deck without Molten Giant. Arena Lock will be better. Yeah. Arena Lock gets better every expansion. Curator helps.
Yeah, Curator's perfect for it.
Yeah, I'd agree. Reno Lock gets better, but I think Zoo got the better end of this expansion. So I think your thirst for Control Warlock is going to be met with a lot of Zoo. I think that is definitely the better Warlock archetype. Just looking at what the cards are, I could be wrong. It's not out yet, but Zoo's looking like it's going to be back on top. It was tier 2 for a little bit towards the end of this set, but it looks like Zoo's going to be back to tier 1 with this latest expansion.
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be any Control Warlock. I mean, I know that a few people have been trying out the whole, Faceless Shambler, Warlock thing, where they just try to be super defensive with it, and they drop, a PO on a minion and just, full, huge Faceless Shambler, but it's just, meh. Consistency is low, the finishers are low, the healing is also pretty low, so you end up just getting either worn out over time and killed with burst from hand, or you just never even seize the board and you just die, so...
Yeah, that's one deck that really needs better healing is the Reno Lock archetypes. If they don't draw Reno, it is really sad and depressing to play that deck. You are almost dead all of the time without drawing Reno. So
that's true. There's so many mid-range decks right now in aggressive decks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Classic asks, what kind of card would you print to disrupt the mid-range tempo meta? Or would you like a card like Wrath of God in Hearthstone? I'm not sure what Wrath of God does, so maybe you guys... I'm sure it's good magic.
4 mana.
Oh,
4 mana,
okay.
twisting another.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the sweepers in Hearthstone are really overcosted, just across the board. The only good ones are in Warlock, and it has both of them. So yeah, I wish they made them stronger.
Okay. Everybody agree with that?
We would just print stronger sweepers to stop the mid-range meta?
Yeah.
It's kind of a boring way to do it, but I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, even Light Bomb I thought was weak. It's just could be a little better,
Yeah, I mean, we had a huge argument about that last time, right, ChanManV?
Yeah, we
had those on the show, and I mentioned how Wrath of God and Magic was perfectly fine and balanced, and you countered with, Twisting Nether's 4 mana would be the most broken thing ever printed in Hearthstone. And it's really just a matter of what the devs want in the game. So I would love a Wrath of God because I probably appreciate a slower, a way to reset as control. So occasionally you do get a bit later in the game, but those are 2 different titles.
They're even weaker in Hearthstone, right? Because you draw and the minion or a thing away every turn. In Magic, if you Wrath and then they draw a land, you win the game.
Yep.
So
wow, that's crazy. Actually.
You pretty much win because they never get on board afterwards.
Shit.
Yeah, but in Hearthstone, they just play another minion afterwards. You give them you remember how when you play Twisting Nether, you just get completely wrecked right afterwards. You know that feeling of I cleaned up the guy's board and I'm still fucked. That's pretty much what happens when you don't print cheap removal or cheap sweepers. That is, so that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Okay. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for questions today, guys. Pretty full show and lots of great card discussion before the night, the day before the actual expansion comes out. So I'm sure all these guys will be streaming tomorrow bright and early. I'm assuming all 3 of you guys streaming tomorrow when the branch comes out or the new wing comes out?
Yeah. I don't know what time it is, but I think
cards are coming out. Is there anything good?
No.
Silverware Golem.
It's just
Silverware Golem and
Shant the Raven.
Nothing really.
I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Wait. Yeah. Your card's coming out, right? I think the Huntress is coming out. So.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's
the Huntress is coming out. I think so.
The Huntress is coming out.
No Legends.
No, Morose is out.
Oh yeah, baby.
He's the legend of choice for the first wing.
Stealth
So,
too, guys. Overpowered.
We
Stealth.
haven't talked about that card enough, I think, just overall.
Dude,
It's kind of like when Purify took the spotlight from everything else, but like Pompous,
that was way worse than Purify. Like,
yeah, it's
It is.
much
It
infinitely
actually
worse
is.
than Purify.
It
I
is.
hope Ravaging Ghoul doesn't shut down Nightbane Templar too hard either. That's one of my big fears with the expansion, is that the whole whelp spawning thing just gets
That's
out
gonna
of
be
hand.
good. I mean, I think that card's gonna be good with Paladin, right? So
Sure.
I can't
But
see that
Ravaging
being
Ghoul,
bad.
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's Arcane Anomaly, Protect the King,
Yeah.
Pantry Spider,
To protect the king. Oh, I can't wait for Bolster, baby.
Arcano Smith,
Bolster.
and Firelands Portal with the Enchanted Raven.
Yeah. Gonna be.
It's
And
gonna
then
be
Cloaked
okay one.
Huntress, Ivory Knight, Priest of the Feast, Deadly Fork, Maelstrom Portal, Silver Golem, and that's all of them.
Deadly Fork.
Deadly Fork's so
I had
bad.
somebody tell me the card was super good, but then I told him, you realize you have to pay the cost, and he's like, oh shit. Like, you actually
Yeah.
have to pay for the fork.
6 mana for a War Axe
I mean-
and a 3/2.
It saves you a deadly poison slot,
I don't
right?
think
like
I
that's
realized
kind of
you
what
had
it
to pay
does.
for that.
Instead of daggering
It's
deadly,
a 3 mana 3/2
Wow.
weapon, and to make matters worse, you're not playing it on curve ever because you have to play
No.
the 3 mana 3/2 first. So now, unless you have the coin and you're coining out Fork guy, you're playing it at turn 4 on the earliest when none of the minions have 3 health anymore. So, it's like I don't know what they were trying to do with that card, but
I can't believe it actually cost.
Definitely
I didn't
nerfed
even
that
realize
one
it
into
actually
the
cost
ground.
to play it too. The fork. Wow,
It's 3.
that's terrible. That's like
it's not even 2, it's 3.
incredibly terrible. Wow.
It
Okay.
saves you a deadly poison. That's all.
I think they're just like they must have made it better, and then there's some problem with like Face Rogue becoming a thing,
Yeah.
and then they had to make it cost a lot more or something. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I would have liked that, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, anyways, let's wrap up. Firebat, always a pleasure having you on the show, man. You're pretty much like a regular, like on the show. So, you want to do any shout outs? Where can people find you?
People can find me at Firebat on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and yeah, shout out to my team, Cloud9. And that's about it from me. I appreciate you guys having me on the show. It's always a pleasure.
Oh man, anytime, man, anytime.
Agreed. It's always kind of fun, honestly, to have like a lot of the same people on.
Yeah, just like regular crew. Ray, you want to do any shout outs, or is he talking? Shoot.
No, just thanks for having me on the show. It was cool. Yeah, no shout outs. Shout out to Blizzard. I mean, I guess the expansion's like fine, even if they kind of misread the community's expectations for Priest. But yeah, expansion has a lot of good cards. I don't think it's as good as the last one. You know, like every expansion that's come out for like the last 4, I've said this is my favorite expansion so far. This time it's not the case, but it's not bad. It's just not like
Can't win
a
them
step
all,
back.
right? you gotta.
Yep.
You
I
gotta
think they've
miss
gotten
some-
better at the way they address forcing archetypes with like, or not forcing, but helping archetypes. Like the way they did it with secrets, this expansion, I like. The secret enabling cards are good. And then the way they did it with beasts was like atrocious. But yeah, we'll see. It's all a learning experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
Noxious? Yeah, where can people
Yeah,
find you?
Yeah, I'm on the YouTube, Noxious Chef, and big shout out to Complexity as well.
Yeah.
Team that just supports me in general. So really like the guys there. Actually, for some reason, I feel like this year is going to be pretty good for a lot of the guys on the team. Hoping so, at least.
Yeah, it's already been a pretty good year, right? So
Yeah.
maybe a
Hopefully
strong
it gets
finish
better.
too. Yeah, totally. I just want to thank you guys for doing the show. It's been a lot of fun, and everybody for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed just the card talk. You can find the VODs on youtube.com/ChanManV shortly after. And I think we're going to start doing some like highlighted, like just smaller versions of the show, so you don't have to listen to the whole hour and 45 minutes, just with, I guess, more the main highlights. So definitely look forward for look for those on my YouTube channel too, really soon. But you can follow us all on Twitter. All of our Twitters are on here, and yeah, that's going to be it, guys. So for Value Town this week, for Firebat, Reynad, Noxious, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.